Is this your nervous?
Sure. Yeah.
We just don't know if we're just here.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
literally it. I'm gonna try not to be awkward.
It's okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
This is Zoe. Can I
Hey
call you by your
y'all.
stage name?
Sure.
Is Zoe Dominique your stage name?
Yeah, that's my artist name.
That's your artist name.
That's
We
my
love
artist
it. It's
name.
Zoe Dominique. I'm excited. Are
I'm
you
excited too.
Great. Great. Well, you get to kick this off.
Oh dear. Okay.
No pressure.
Okay.
So I just want to start from the beginning. So
Okay.
you're a singer, yes?
Yes.
You're
Sure.
a worship leader?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
You're a bit of a musician.
Yes.
Right? Songwriter.
Songwriter, yes.
All of that. So what started this for you?
That's a tough question. I'm not really sure.
Mm.
Because I've just music's just kind of been.
It's
I have
your
a
thing.
twin brother, yeah, so it's just been our
You
thing.
have a twin brother?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So music's been our thing.
Okay.
So it's just like even when we were kids, we had a piano, had lessons, all of that. Didn't know how to play, but we'd just be banging on the piano, having church, doing all of that. So I'm not really sure what like directly got me into songwriting or anything like that. But music just kind of always been there.
Always been your thing.
Yeah.
Does he still do his music thing, or is
He doesn't really do it as much as I do.
Okay.
He goes as far as about like singing in whatever church he goes to, and that's
Gotcha.
about it. We used to do it together, but not anymore.
I have
So
a similar story, but I get it. So you mentioned like having church at home and kind of doing that thing. So you're a PK, right?
Of course, PK for life. Well,
Well, yeah.
who knows? But yeah, at the
You're in
moment.
there at that point. So what was that like, kind of growing up?
So my dad wasn't always a pastor, but
Okay.
he's always been in ministry.
Mhm.
So it oddly enough, like the first churches we were a part of, we weren't really in the music ministry or anything like that. We were just kind of there.
Okay.
Because the first church was like Assemblies of God. So I don't want to talk about like their church or anything like
Gotcha.
that. But it was, old people walking around, hands lifted, mostly YT people, but
Mhm.
and we had that church. Then we went to a Presbyterian church, and that pastor's family was like everything. They were the band, the choir, the preachers, like all of that.
So
we
like
didn't
family
really,
church kind of stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
very family church.
Okay.
So we didn't really. We were interested, but it still wasn't there. So we really had outside things, like we were in St. Louis Children's Choir and things like that. So musically, I guess we didn't really do that too much in church. But being a PK, it's okay. Like when my dad became an actual pastor, that's when we were more involved, like youth choir, every choir. They literally had like 7 choirs. Not anymore because of COVID, but like it was like an older people choir, the youth and young adult choir, the women's choir, this early morning choir, because before my dad was there, they had 2 services, so there was like a choir for each service. Then they merged to 1 service, so the choir still, each service choir still got to sing on a different Sunday.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, we participated, and then when they found out we can sing, they was like, "Oh, y'all can sing, okay!" And then kind of introduced the praise and worship thing, which started there, and all of that. But
And so, how old were you when this kind of happened?
I want to say I was like 10, between 10 or 13.
Gotcha.
With that,
Decent
specifically my dad pastoring.
So I've heard different stories or different perspectives of how like praise and worship was treated in certain churches and what that meant for those who were in charge of kind of putting that thing together. So in your experience at the time, was it praise and worship, I won't say as we know it today, but kind of as we knew it 10-ish years ago, or was it more still like devotional kind of situation?
So the deacons would still do devotion.
Okay.
And then they would have praise and worship after. I guess the deacons did their prayer thing or whatever, and then there was like a pause, and then the pastor would do the welcome or minister, and then we would do praise and worship.
Still. Okay.
Yeah, it still kind of felt more like a selection, but
so it was only one song?
Sometimes it was one song, sometimes it was 2.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Now that is the different thing, because like around that time, it was like always 3 in my
Yeah.
experience. Like we're gonna do 2 fast songs and a slow song and be out. Like, and it could just, but not the case. It was
Nah, it was interesting though, because I feel like because it was kind of an older congregation, they just wanted the devotion part, and like, okay, what is this? Like
Yeah.
the praise and worship was just
Yeah.
like, what is this? But they kind of got into it a little bit,
okay.
like because I kind of helped them kind of bring in more so what we see now in praise and worship,
Okay.
which they're still not there 100%.
Right.
No offense, but like they're closer to what it's praise and worship is more presented as now, like with the flowing and all of that stuff. They don't really flow, but the idea, the concept is there.
Cool. So you
feel
kind
like
of
I'm throwing the ball.
introduced that way of that kind of flow of worship, that kind of
Yeah.
kind of see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. I noticed, with it being a different congregation, I'm pretty sure it was some kickback.
Oh man, I feel like if I compare Move Church to there, I feel like here it was like, okay, this is normal. There I was like the crazy, wild, spiritual girl. That's literally what it was like sometimes, but it's okay.
So even at
They
like,
still
so we're
love me.
probably like 13 and 15 now. You were, or are we still?
No, I was when we started doing praise and worship, I was probably I probably was 18. So it had been a while.
Okay.
Yeah. It was choir, it was mostly choir things, and then I would say I was probably around like 18 when they started doing the praise and worship stuff for real.
Okay.
Slow to catch on to the new trends and things like that. So I don't know if that's like a missionary Baptist thing or just an older church. Congregation.
yeah. Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go off to the side and come back. So, what did you do? Any kind of music in school, choir, band, anything like that to foster that, or
like school choirs? Well, okay. So I went to a predominantly white institution.
Understandable.
And the choir, they sound like little angels, but I don't want to say good angels. They weren't bad, but it didn't appeal to me, and I hated it. Yeah. And maybe it was ruined for me when we were in St. Louis Children's Choir because, of course, again, predominantly white, and it was just that certain sound. Like, I still love music and the aspects of, like, getting choir, being able to sing different things and do harmonies and make it sound really beautiful. But I just didn't want to be a part of it. Like, I was just like, nah, they making fun of them. That doesn't sound good. And I just didn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I can remember, like, my high school days. Because, of course, I played in my church as well. And even, like, we had a teen praise team at the time of we probably like 9 deep in there. At the time where I was, like, in middle school, high school. And from that experience to going to school, it's just like, man, like, it just does not, outside of song selection, it just does not hit it's not the same kind of experience, you know? And at the time, there was a lot of people, like, our church was kind of split across 2 main high schools. And so there's a lot of people that went to church, a lot of people that had that church background. I would see them at school and at church. Some of them were in band, and like, we kind of shared and do kind of things, but going in here in the choir is just like, man, like, it's just two different things, you know. So you heard it, but not kind of involved in.
Because like, literally, I don't know, maybe I really wanted that black kid school experience, but like our school's band at the games, they played like some Harry Potter song.
Oh my!
And I was just like, this is not what I want to be a part of. Yeah. So, but like, I went as far as classes or anything like that. I did guitar.
Okay.
In high school, that's about it.
So and then like violin. Like privately or like a private instruction kind of thing.
It was like a class at school. So I guess he wasn't really a private instructor. He was just a teacher.
Oh, okay. So like an ensemble class, or you?
Yeah, except we didn't play together. We just kind of all got a lesson, and he came around the class like, okay, that sounds good.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that's cool, because I don't, especially now where they're trying to like cut programs, you don't see a lot of that at all.
Yeah.
I've barely heard about stuff like that unless it was, did you go to like a performing arts high school or anything, or no?
I went to a basic public high school, Rockwood School District.
Unless there was that, we didn't really get that. It was definitely some insight on like, this is what you need to work on, but everybody was kind of like treated as an ensemble. But that's cool that it was a offered class. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. So back to you leading worship now. So it's kind of clear that you grew up in the church, right?
Yeah.
Things get a little more intense as you're a PK now.
Yes.
So now you're in charge of leading worship. So
Yes.
from a, I guess, personal and spiritual place, like what was that like for you? Kind of taking on a leadership role, but also kind of navigating some things and learning more about like what worship is and what that is for you and all that.
So I was kind of surprised at first when I first came here, and I was like, "Oh, you want to come lead worship?" And I was still in the beginning stages of like getting comfortable with my guitar and things, so I was kind of shocked. I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." And I came at a time when we kind of had a musician, but not really. So like it would be me and my guitar, and oh my God, I was terrified. So it went from like me being terrified and not fully understanding still praise and worship because of how I experienced. Like I had an idea of it, and like went to a conference or whatever. Thought I learned the whole structure and everything, praise and worship, but you can't really learn that. It's just kind of you experience it more so than like knowing just, oh, this is how it should be. And I guess from that, it's just been really a growing experience because of that. The like spiritual part has always been there. You know, it's easy for me to worship alone with God, play my guitar with my 3 little chords and all of that. Like it's easy to do that, but it's different when it was a different place of, I guess, vulnerability because it's like, okay, now I have to come bring that and help others go to that place of communion with the Father. And so that was a learning curve in understanding how to do that. And I don't know why. I guess it makes me more nervous to be in a smaller, more intimate setting. But I would be like nervous and be watching, like, okay, are they worshiping? I guess we're doing good. And so it took the most that I learned about was thinking less because I'm an overthinker, so I would think a whole lot when I first started off here versus now. Like I don't really think about it when I'm leading worship. Like the only things really I think about is occasionally the lyrics, but I never really remember lyrics. So like I just don't. But now I just pay attention to where God wants to take me and hearing him versus thinking about like, okay, I need to go to this part next, I need to do this chord next or anything like that. Plus we have an amazing band now, so don't have to worry about that. So it's I guess spiritually, of course I have to keep myself in check and make sure I'm always aligned with God, but it's easier now than what it used to be because I understand what worship is and praise and worship more so than when I first started. I it's not that I didn't get it, but it was more to it than just getting up and singing a song. So I hadn't gotten the hard part yet, but that came more. Like even though people were like, "Oh, you have such a pure heart," blah blah blah. I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And it was just like, "Okay, so what does that mean?" Like, cool. But then kind of just died. I guess it just required more study and whatnot to understand where I'm at now versus where I was then.
So how would you describe what worship is? I guess how would you define it, and then how would you define like what praise and worship is as far as like in the service?
So worship, like that devotion part of like everything I do, not just like singing a song or anything, but everything I do is devoted and unto the Lord. So working, driving on the highway, anything, literally anything, like being mindful and making sure it's intentional towards God and pleasing to him. And then praise and worship is more so that expression of adoration through song or through playing or dancing or anything like that. So it's more so of, I guess, the demonstration and actively, I can't think of the right word besides demonstrate, but more so actively participating and showing God, like with demonstrate. Why do I keep hearing the word demonstrate? Anyways,
I mean, that
that's
could be just,
basically
a demonstration of that in a specific way.
yeah.
I get that. I really do. And so as a worship leader, as a worshiper, somebody who has experience in praise teams and stuff like that, I'm sure you've heard the common phrase like, "Oh, we're all worship leaders" and all of that. So yeah, so having experience on kind of both sides of that, but as someone who is also, side note, she is the director of worship and worship arts here. So now having that position, how do you kind of break down, like, reminding everyone that they are worship leaders, but differentiating that between like actually leading a song or putting together a set or doing the work of a leader instead of just being kind of in people's face, for lack of a better phrase.
Oh, that's complicated. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So having been on both sides of like actually leading worship and running a worship ministry, and just kind of being a member who just sings on the praise team, but being under that umbrella of, oh, we're all worship leaders, like how would you differentiate kind of being a worship leader just on the praise team and actually like leading a song and being the worship leader, specifically in regards to like as the worship leader, as someone over a worship department who teaches this kind of thing, has to usher people in. It's kind of a different role, but it gets all put under that umbrella of worship leader.
Well, I definitely have to be more mindful of like making sure of coaching people into worship more so than just being up there singing, because not everyone is at the same place. Like, especially we're still, I guess, somewhat of a new church where we have a lot of young members, new members, and everyone's not in the same place of understanding. Like, when the team is up singing, you can lift your hands, or you can do anything, like being mindful of encouraging people to like, oh, come on, lift your hands, it's okay. Not overdoing it, but also not leaving the people and like doing my own worship and helping coach them, but also I guess demonstrating to my team as well, like this is how, like, we don't want to always preach to them. We got to actually sing to them, and things like that. So it's like a training ground almost.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm training myself. We training the congregation to understand, to express their worship to God. And then you're also kind of training your team, because it's almost like I'm setting the role of how we should be doing it, making sure, and when COVID's not around, come on down and worship.
Right.
Come on to the front, and all of that. So I guess, and of course there's like the technical side of like, okay, rotation, all that stuff. But
more playing.
Yeah, but that's not.
This not worship. Yeah, and we'll get into that too, because there is, I feel like people don't give the world of music enough credit, because it's a lot of other skills and other tools that we use to do our job just as musical people.
It's quite a lot of organization, really.
Right. But what I want to dive into now is, so we're in music, right? Do worship and all those kind of things, and we're in ministry, right? But one of the things I know, my mother was huge. I mean, now I'm not a PK, but I was in church heavy. My parents are big and like serving the church. Like, if we join the church on Sunday, Monday, you need to be in the ministry. Like, it's they didn't play, But me being a musician, one of the things my mother was just huge about is making sure it's actual ministry and not performance. But if I'm honest, one of the things I've learned in like my study of worship and doing things in church and kind of creating atmospheres and doing this thing is that there is a certain element or amount of performance, not that it's fake, but performance that is involved in this. So what helps you balance, those two things?
Well, okay. So I'm not trying to like discredit myself as a singer, but that's not necessarily, like, I'm not a natural singer. Like, there are some people who just open their mouths and they sound like Whitney Houston, or they sound like Mariah Carey, or like they just have like a natural, I don't say perfection, but like it doesn't take as much effort. but
Right.
like I gotta put some effort into singing.
Yeah.
So like I have to practice because otherwise I'm gonna get up there, I'm gonna sound a hot mess, and it's gonna be rough. So I think that part of balancing between putting in practice versus putting in like just worship free flowing time, but having I think just being mindful of that, of like it can easily become like if I'm giving a bad performance, that's going to distract people from worshiping or focusing on God if I sound bad. So I think that part right there, just like, okay, I can't get up there and be raggedy. Like I have to be excellent. Excellent. Oh my God, excellent. Jeez. So I think just what I do has to be pleasing to God, regardless of whether it's like, oh, I just want to be pleasing you, Lord, versus no, you need to get up there and sound good. Because if you sound hot mess, we're gonna sit you down. Like,
Yeah. It's because for a second there, like I battled with with the argument of like, as long as it's to God, no matter what you sound like, and like,
joyful
it's like
noise.
that's it. Like, it's,
Exactly.
and a lot of times I can be under scrutiny, of like, oh, it's not, especially as a gigging musician, like it's not real. I'm just doing this for the money and like all this other kind of stuff, and we kind of get criticized. But there's a certain element, right? And it ties into excellence. It ties into all those other things. And I was kind of talking to the band on Monday, actually, just about what we bring to the table, what our best is, And it's like, yes, unto the Lord, but are you really giving it 100? And there's a line. I won't even say a fine line, but it's a line between doing something well, doing it unto the Lord, but doing that at your best, and that's everyone's best is different, and I'm pretty sure as a leader, someone who has to lead a team, you realize that, and there's a way to coach and train that to have everyone sound their best as a whole, but you can do something well and not be your best. So as a means we have to lead people, some people who are unchurched, even into that kind of atmosphere, there is an element of performance, and
or even professionalism.
Right? And even like just practice, like anointing is not enough, or calling is not enough. That goes into, and even practice on, when your team practices is not enough. Like it still takes some individual practice to just develop your own craft in order
discipline.
to
That's the word I was looking for.
Absolutely. Discipline, diligence to just do it well. Now also with that performance, you talked about being nervous in front of crowds. So I know personally one thing I had to do was just get used to performing and like in front of different types of people, because similar to your story, like I would much rather, I'm okay with it now, but I would much rather like perform in front of a room of strangers than people I know. I don't care if it's 10 of them, 100 people, whatever. I would rather be strangers than people like
100%.
family and friends. And people think that's weird, but it's just like, no,
They
because
gonna
I can
judge you
perform in front of them and never see them again. Y'all gonna flame me every time I see
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So it's that aspect, but you mentioned like leading worship by yourself. And for those that don't know, like performing by yourself gets,
it's so much pressure.
oh man, it gets spacey real fast for a multitude of reasons. Time goes by, time takes long to go by. You have to fill up a lot more space. You're responsible for a lot more energy and just attentiveness, control of the room. Like it gets lonely real quick when you have a team or even just another person, and then it dries up and it's just you. You're responsible for a lot. So in thinking about ministry / performance, what has that journey been like for you? Of course you've done both. You've been by yourself, you've been with a team. Like, how did it start and where do you think you are now? What did it take for you to get there?
really, it kind of did just take me like either you gonna do it or you're not, because it's like who else gonna do
You gotta
it?
have that energy at some point.
Right? Because either I'm gonna get up there and make myself look stupid, and be like, and also thinking about like the responsibility of like, okay, you're not just making yourself look bad if you decide to like go have a meltdown and cry because you're scared or messed up a note versus just getting through it. Because
Yeah.
I know I've had plenty of bad Sundays, and I I wanted to go cry, but then I go back and I was like, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad or anything like that. So it just kind of, the more I worship, lead worship or anything like that, I get used to it more. I think that's it. Just started to be more of, okay, this is just something you have to do versus, oh my God, I gotta go sing. Like, of course, occasionally I still get like, sometimes I'm like, I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous, but I'm nervous. But I still go and do it. It's not like, okay, I don't think I can do this or anything
So
like that.
you kind of treat it like a muscle that you just
Yeah.
continuously develop. That's I
Yeah.
mean, that's a good way to think about it because it is like you have to learn how to read a room, navigate a room, and it takes guts, like you said, to keep yourself in check because I can kind of speak to this as someone who does both. Like when you're leading worship, it's a little more intimate and transparent than like another style where you can just go sing a song and kind of go on
Yeah.
about your business. You know, when you're
Yeah.
truly leading somebody into worship and being real about worship, what worship is, it is a little more personal than something else like a jazz gig or a pop gig.
Yeah.
Where you kind of go and just do the thing and go.
Exactly.
A little bit. So it's just a muscle, and a couple of different muscles,
Yeah.
that you kind of have to work. So
Yeah.
that's true. Okay, so let's get into some of the latter years. So if I remember correctly, you went to school for film. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
So how does that play? So in film, you had to probably do a lot of film study, of course.
Yes.
So watch a lot of movies, learn what to look for, all those kind of things. Did you have to read, like, do any script reading or
Oh, yeah.
like read books that went with movies and stuff too?
We didn't really do so much the books that went with movies, but we definitely read other scripts
Okay.
and watched a lot of movies. Like, I
Okay.
thought I watched movies, and then I got into film, and I literally had a class where every week all we did was watch a movie, and I was just like, oh, like, is this what we're doing? But it was okay because I learned a lot about film than I expected, but it was different. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was different. And when you get starting into the detail of it, it's becomes more eye opening than what I used to. But oddly enough, music kind of drove me into going into film
Okay.
and writing, because whenever I'm a visual person, so like I would be listening to music and be thinking of a scene of a movie that I could write, or a scene of anything. And so that kind of like motivated me, like, oh, I want to go make films so I can write my own scenes for music or anything like that, which I'm like, huh. Like, thinking about it now, it's like, oh, well, why didn't you just go into music? But anyways, like that was music kind of just, it helped me creatively. Like, it helps, I guess it helps stir me prophetically, and it helps me when I write anything, because I write not just songs, but like I like writing books and things like that. So with the scripts and all of those things, yeah, we listen to music, because music was actually, for some of the scenes that we watched and evaluated, they would go back and be like, okay, so how did this, when they made this angle and this note came on, or this part of the music, we would think of, dang, I can't think of the name of, like the music composition people or whatever, like how much they had into creating a scene or a moment that where nobody was talking, but it would just be like they're showing this one thing and the actors are just acting, and the music or even just the sound had so much to do with that scene. And that definitely, that drew me into, of course. But
So you start to go into it. So how much does that play into your musical experience? Because I know, like, you definitely hear from God. You definitely have a prophetic side. So with that film background and your imagery and stuff, how much does that play into your songwriting, or just kind of being in prophetic moments and kind of deciphering what's going on?
well, I oftentimes I hear like tunes or things like that. So it's oftentimes before I have lyrics, I'll hear some like a melody or something like that,
Okay.
and then I'll keep playing the same melody and then get lyrics. So I guess in that way, or just if I have my guitar and I'm just messing around or anything, or even when I'm praying, like it just, I don't know, it's weird. It just kind of stirs me, and then I'm just like, okay, ooh, now I can go create or do this, or how like I don't know, people get like in the zone, and it just like helps me focus in on whatever I'm doing, if I'm drawing or anything, and it kind of brings like a different focus. Like I don't really know how to explain it. That's
Understandable.
okay.
Understandable. I'm just curious.
Yeah, like
So, so I just learned. So you do other. So you said you write. You said books and poetry, or just books?
I guess both.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you draw as well.
Yeah, paint, draw, all of that. I'm an
Okay.
artsy fartsy fellow.
So all of it. I used
Yeah.
to be able to draw. It's gone now. I used to draw like every day, and now it's just. I'd be lucky to draw a perfect circle, but you know. Um, so furthermore into the songwriting. So when did that start? Kind of early on, like with the playing church at home kind of thing, or was it later?
I guess like more developed it was later, but
Okay.
like my brother and I, we would always play around and joke around. And like we would see a truck on the highway and make a song about a truck running by.
Wow.
Like one of my first songs was about pig poop. We were literally like, it was a truck and we had nothing else to do. So we would like just start singing, making up funny things. Like a truck going by, like pig poop, da 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 da, and like we would sing that. We probably got on my parents' nerve because it was like a half hour of us just singing about a truck.
Yeah.
But like we would do little things like that. So it wasn't like I was out here writing songs as a little kid like that. But if I would see something, I would make a song about it, or just like make a beat or something like that. But I think I got more into it when I was in maybe middle school and high school, because I got more into poetry.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I can make music to this poetry. And then it was just like songs, and it just happened.
And so that's something that you continue to develop, or has it? Do you think your style or your process has changed lately? Or?
My process has definitely changed.
Okay.
Because I used to just be able to write words because I was great with poetry, and now it's like, okay, I can't think of words, and I'll play something. I was like, oh, okay, and then I can write words, which is weird, it's backwards, but
So you seem to kind of write music first and then get the words then.
yeah, it depends on what I'm doing,
Yeah.
or how I feel sometimes, oftentimes.
I have found that there's no one way
Yeah,
to skin that cat.
nah, not at all.
There's no one way. Yeah, I've even either songs that I've written or songs that people have brought to me, is I hear different stories, and it's just like either it all comes at once, or one piece comes, or I hear a word and then it's another week and then some more things come.
I was gonna say I definitely piece songs together,
Yeah.
because unless it's just flat out poetry, like I can write that out. But a song, I'll have, like when I wrote Never Let Go, that was like over a course of 3 years of like just, oh, this sounds good here, this sounds good here. And then I was just like, oh wait, that sounds like this. When I would go back and listen to my voicemails later, it was like, oh wait, that sounds like this. And I'm like, oh, that goes good too. Oh, it's a song. And then that's literally how all of my songs work. I'll have something or hear something, record it at work, then later on hear something like, oh, that sounds like this. Oh, those go good together. Or I'll change it, take a piece of something else, put it somewhere else.
Wow.
Like a puzzle.
You better than me. 3 years. If I don't have within that same month, I'm just like, look, scratch that deal. One of my band directors kind of like made me feel about this big once, because I came back and I was like, I wrote 10 songs over the weekend. He was like, what? I was like, yeah. He was like, show me. And I had the sheet, I had the chords all written down. And I was like, yeah. He played through. He was like, this is one song. I'm like, all right. I was like, I'll go away now.
Thank you.
Right. God bless you. Thank you. That's cool. So have you, of course your single is out, so let's talk about that. So Never Let Go was a 3-year process.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how much of what you were going through, like, not that it had to be anything bad or anything, but like life events, played
Yeah.
into the song, or were they any?
Um, I think it was kind of a mix of both.
Okay.
Because I remember writing the song at a dry cleaners. I used to work at a dry cleaners,
Uh-huh.
and I would be in the back. Like we were so chill. Nobody got fired. It was great. It was 3 of us that worked there at all times. And so in the evenings, like, it would be slow, and so I would just be back there. And I don't know. I kind of got depressed sometimes because I was in school working at this dry cleaners, and like I was trying to be positive. I was in college trying to. I don't know if like this is a thing people tell PKs, but they're like, oh, whenever the PK goes off to college, they lose their faith, they spiral, and all these things. So I got scared. I was like, God, I don't want to lose my faith. I don't want to like die. I don't want to be on drugs or like be homeless or anything dramatic and terrible. I thought of everything bad that could possibly happen. But like, I just started really seeking God hard and like really trying to be, a good Christian and all of that. And of course, there were like dark times or whatever, but I just was like, oh, let me write a song about who God is or how He's been to me. And that was basically how that came about. So it was kind of a mix of like my experiences and where I was, because I didn't have anything else to do. I was at dry cleaners, I had no Wi-Fi. Like, brought my guitar. So yeah, like, okay. So yeah, that's about it. It was simple, but I was gonna do it. I can't remember which anniversary it was. It might have been the 6th year, and I had to like sing. I was like, oh, I should do it then. And then I forgot to tell Pastor Banks that I was bringing my guitar, and he was like, yeah, no. And so
had to be put on
I was
hold
like,
for a little while
okay,
longer.
I'll just sing another song, and it was fine. But I was like, okay, maybe it was for a reason, because clearly, obviously, I released it later on. But yeah,
so I'm definitely gonna leave this link down at the bottom for y'all to check out. The song is dope. The song is killing. She did all her backgrounds. Of course, she did her lead vocal. She played her guitar on it. The whole 9 yards. It's killing. It's killing. So even in that experience, you doing your own like backgrounds, you doing everything. What was that? I guess your studio experience. What was that like? Is this your first time being in studio? Was that your first time being in studio?
Like for myself, yes.
Okay.
Like I've helped. Someone did some movie in like our school's gospel choir. We did a studio. He wanted the choir to sing. Like I've done some things like that, but not for myself. So that was different.
Okay.
I was nervous. I was scared. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But it was a really fun process. Like it was. I think it was exciting because well, obviously because I it was like seeing something I started come to life. And then, like, of course, you with your skill, Str8 Up Productions, like, it was like literally, I cried when I got the first, like, just the keys part for the song. I know that's so dramatic. But literally, Jared can attest to that. Like, I cried. I was like, oh my God, Jared,
and he will. Her husband is a goofy, y'all. We're gonna do one with him too.
Yeah, but it was I don't know, it was different. It was kind of like of course I gotta be deep about it. I was like, this is just the beginning. Like it was nice seeing that and taking that first step. But I've never done anything like that before. So it was just, I was amazed like the whole time. I was having a great time. I was like,
that's good.
But scared, but also like, yeah, we're doing the thing.
So this is more to help those who are new to the studio experience as well. So how much, because I tell people this all the time, but I want it to come from, because I don't sing, God be praised, and I want God continues to be glorified. But musicians go through it. Singers definitely go through it. They get into the studio experience and they feel like they have to change their whole persona. They have to be like on this completely different level, and they have to be this different person and change their voice and do extra stuff because they've entered the studio realm. So what do you have to say to that?
Oh gosh. I don't even want to say be yourself, because I was like, I would try to be myself and it would just be like, oh my God, I can't be myself because I would be scared. like it was different too, because I was used to like people being around if I'm like leading worship, but it's not leading worship. You just straight singing a song into a microphone. So for me, I had to like just space out and just be like, girl, you don't just sing a song, like act like you in worship or something. Like that's what I had to do.
So you would say it's like more of a mind game and just
Yeah,
like focusing on the fact
for
that there's
sure.
not too much different. Okay.
Because you can also hear yourself.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
I would hear myself be like, like I would be scared, like, oh.
No, that is one thing I do advise, you know, and I do say like that red light does not lie to you. And that was a harsh truth that I learned like even in undergrad, because my piano teacher started to record me playing. And it was just like you can't dispute that. Like you actually did
it's like,
that.
oh dang, that was me.
Right, which kind of goes back to, and not to make anyone fearful or anything like that, but which goes back to like the practice and the diligence that we talked about earlier, because that's the only difference is that the red light is on, you know.
Yeah.
And the better that you are live, the better that you are, you know, just off the whim, the better that experience is going to be, you know. And of course, just like everything else, the more you do it, the easier it's going to be to kind of go in there and just knock it out. But I just wanted them to hear from somebody who is fresh to it, who went into it, that you do not have to reinvent yourself or anything like that. It definitely is a mind game, especially if you go into, which we won't get into, but like bigger studios with bells and whistles and stuff like that. I definitely get it. But just, be yourself, you know, and it can be fun. It can be fun. So what else is going on in Zoe's life? I know you are married. You are working at a hospital, not a Walmart, for the umpteenth time. You're songwriting. You are worship leading. You're planning. You're doing a whole lot. So what's Zoe's world like?
Just right now, it's like I'm just trying to prepare myself for whatever I'm supposed to be doing next. So it's just right now, it's like a lot of relaxing, decompressing, and organizing. Like it's the top of the year, so I'm trying to make sure I'm getting myself set up and ready for the rest of the year. And work is interesting because they know that I can play the guitar and sing. So they'll like, I kid you not, they had me and another doctor sing for the Christmas party. I blame my mother. And so like this year they were like, oh yeah, Zoe can sing. You can sing I Want a Hippopotamus or whatever song they were singing. And I was like, no.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah,
no,
not here for that.
Yeah, but it was cute or whatever last year. But this year I was like,
Hey man, I don't blame you. I don't even blame you. What are some of your hobbies?
I cook. I cook better than my husband, just so he knows.
Challenge. Game night. Let's go. Fight night.
I'm ready. I'll have my chef hat. And
you got your chef hat?
It's just my bonnet, but it's big enough to be a chef hat.
Amen. Amen.
Well, I cook, I read books, and I play my guitar. I'm boring, and I pray, and that's it. Those are my hobbies.
Listen, Easy does it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Easy does it. So what's your favorite dish to cook? I'll ask that.
I love pastas. Like I'm a beast with sauces. So
you make your own sauce?
Oh yes, sauces, gravies. Like that heavy whipping cream. I don't know what happens. It just becomes an anointed dish when I make that sauce. Like it's so. I don't know. I keep getting. I think because I make pasta so much, I keep getting better at it. So that's why it's always amazing.
It tends to happen. Are you a Gordon Ramsay fan?
Nah.
No.
Dude is rude.
That's my flesh coming out. I will sit there and watch it and get weak. But there's sometimes where I'll just be like, I don't know if he's going to see this, probably not. But I'm just like, if he said it to me, we'd be boxing right now. Like, I am going to front.
Yeah, he makes me mad. That's why I don't. It's like, watch Hell's Kitchen or what's the one competition one? MasterChef.
MasterChef, yeah.
No,
now MasterChef. I'm not going to say his name because I've name dropped enough. But there's one judge on there where I'm just like, you're irritating. I've been choke slammed you. I know by watching MasterChef, I'm just like, let me just stay at home. Because, like, I be feeling like I could cook and stuff, but they be coming out with them baskets, and I'm just like, by the time this 45 minutes up, the same basket you'll be sitting.
I'm gonna be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with an octopus
Right.
or whatever random.
You have one octopus tentacle, a goose egg, berries, croutons,
Like at this rate.
and some white rind. Go. And I'm just like, you want some chicken or some cereal or some breakfast? You want an omelet?
Let's go back to the store.
Listen, you want some McDonald's? Because I would just be at the house, especially like the desserts. Making desserts from scratch? Nope.
I don't know how they do it.
And they be making full on desserts. Like, don't be cakes and brownies. They be making tartar
And I threw in a little splash of this octopus just so you guys
Right.
have a hint of it. I'm like
a fresh squeeze of pigeon leg or something. I'm just like, bruh, hey,
be some
man,
random stuff.
stuff I ain't never heard of. Yeah, Master Chef is just like, let me just stay at home. That's
Yeah,
just
basically.
that's just what I'm gonna do.
The junior Master Chef gets me though, because of the kids. I'm just
Yeah, I'll drop kick a little kid.
like,
They'd be real mad. No, it's medium rare. Hey, go color or something, man. Like, yeah, I just, it reminds me to stay in my lane. Because as much as I think, I may have a gift and people think I want to, ask me to sell pies and all this stuff, I'm going to stick to my
Not gourmet.
music. You got to be glorified. Well, this was fun.
yeah, this was.
This was fun. It's nice to get to know you outside of, worship on Sundays and
Because I
things
was here
like
that
that.
I'm
and
gone.
just-
No, I'm playing.
I mean, it's important to know the human side of
Yeah.
this life too, and that's one thing I do think is changing. That people are kind of, we got to work on our balance. I think in some ways, but people are kind of realizing more that like we're humans now.
Yeah.
As Christian people,
Yeah.
and worship leading. Last question: who are like some of your influences?
Oof. I can't say Drake. I just like Drake, so I can't be like, oh, that's my influence. No, but for real, Adele, I would say for sure.
Yeah.
Travis Green, Israel Houghton, because like, oh my God, to me he's like a genius because of the fact the music like he's goals, like the vocal and all the instruments, all that. Israel Houghton is goals.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a monster.
He's definitely one of my favorites and influences. Stevie Wonder a little bit, but I think more so because of his music than like his lyrics. For lyrical influences, that's kind of hard. Obviously, like Maverick City Music, not necessarily their influence or for me, but because of like the style and how they create and go about it. That's what influences me there.
Did you see that video where it was like, I think it was, I still don't know if it's come out yet. It may have, I just may be late, but that video where Todd Delaney was having like a writing session, but like everybody ended up coming in. I don't know if they ended up writing a song together, but it was just a monster of everybody. Did you see that video?
I don't know.
Todd Delaney was like writing, then later on in the video, like Chandler Moore came in, Israel came in, Travis came in.
Oh, that might have been during, because I know during their Juneteenth album, they had like all of them were together for some stuff. So maybe it was that.
I'm just like, bro, y'all all right. I'm just like, I just want to be a
gosh.
fly. I just want to sit in the corner. Don't ask me nothing. Don't look
Oh
my
my
way.
gosh.
I just,
I would have loved to just sit there like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, Jonathan McReynolds. Oh my God.
yeah, like it's just nuts. Naomi, she's.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, continue. This is your question.
No, but you basically like those are people now. Naomi Ray, Jonathan McReynolds, Todd Delaney. His sound is a big influence to me. Like I haven't made anything like that yet. But like I have things recorded just like, ooh, this would be dope if Todd Delaney like, ooh, oh my God.
That dude just got so much energy. Like
Yes, I love it.
him and Travis Green. I feel like I just no slight to anybody else, but when I hear them, I'm just like they get it. Like
Yes.
everybody else is dope, but they just make me say like y'all get it because they hit the stage and it's just like 100 and we may get to 250, but
Yeah.
we started at 100. Like they don't. And from their record, like you can just feel the energy. I actually got to see Travis Green live.
Oh my gosh.
Ended up like playing with him, but it's just like he came out stage and like sound check was one thing.
Oh my gosh.
But when he hit the stage, it was just like I'm just like, bruh, he gets it. Like, oof. And yeah, Todd's energy, bruh, is even like on features. Like, here's one thing, and that's one thing I've kind of respected about other musicians. Like I follow them. And it's like, okay, it's one thing to hear you blaze with like the artists that you play for. Yeah. When you're playing on Sunday mornings, you can match that energy. Like when Todd does features and stuff, and it's still Todd. Like it's.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's
he's.
Like,
yeah.
There's no other.
Yeah, yeah. That dude, and his whole structure, just how he thinks about worship, how he thinks about music and writing songs and stuff like that. It is. Yeah. Yeah, I remember his first album with Pulling Me Through on it, and it had like You're Mighty on it and all that kind of stuff. I'm like,
this is it.
yeah, good old time. Gotta love it. Well, this is fun.
Yes.
Are you gonna sing now?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that.
I didn't, but I did.
Amen.
Okay. Amen.
All right. Let's do it.
Trust in you. Oh, I can trust in you. 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 Trust in you. You will be my guide, Jesus. I can trust in you. You're a cloud by day and fire by night. You will always be by my side. You're a cloud by day and a fire by night. You'll always be my guide. I give you my devotion. I give you my heart, my mind, and my time. I give you my devotion. I give you my heart, my mind, and my time. I can trust in you. 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 Ooh, I can trust in you. I can trust in you. So I give you my devotion. I give you my heart, my mind, and my time, yeah. I give you my devotion, give you my life. I can trust in you, you can trust in me, and I will trust in you and give you my devotion. I'll give you my devotion. Give you my